Good afternoon, traders. 3rd of October 2017, 16:28, English summertime. Welcome to a new product we've been intending to release for quite a long time. I wrote this in the summer, and basically it's a market detective real-time percentage change monitoring service with an MT4 auto trade plugin. Big mouthful. So without further ado, let's just get on and explain what this is all about. So on the web page here, you can see we talk about dynamic alerts versus static price alerts and how you can use the market detective service. Essentially, in a nutshell, what this is really a spike monitoring service. So we're looking at percentage change data across all time frames in real time for, at the moment, the major Forex pairs. So let's have a look at the interface, and I'll just load up MT4 behind it. So it's just a JavaFX based interface, which is the new interface language for Java, which replaced Swing. And what we've got here is, if I can create a new alert. So let's just walk you through this, and hopefully this will become clear as we go through. So I can select my asset class. So at the moment we're looking at Forex majors. Let's look at the euro dollar, and I can choose a time frame to examine. For the purposes of this demo, I'm going to use 1 minute. It's pretty late in the afternoon, so the volatility or liquidity in the Forex marketplace is beginning to diminish, but hopefully I'll be able to make some demo trades for you in real time, and so you can see this system working and potentially see how you could use this to your advantage. So I'm just going to use a 200 periods for the number of bars I want to examine, and what we have down here is percentage change data for the euro dollar on a 1 minute chart. You can see this trace essentially is giving us an indication of how the percentage change data is changing over time. And then if we look below that, we can see the actual price history for the euro dollar, which is obviously in sync with this percentage change data here. And really what I'm trying to do with it, well, the reason I developed it is because a lot of people use fixed price alerts, and so they say, okay, I want to be alerted when the price for the euro dollar is above or below a certain physical value. And that isn't that handy really, because what I find is the best opportunities are where you get extremes in price movement, and those you've got to think about how they're driven. So is the price being driven by an economic news release or a change in geopolitical events, etc., or is it essentially just a technical spike, or just a spike generated from a large trade going through, or whatever it might be, stops being hit, etc., etc. So the right way I like to try and use this system is to actually fade the spike, so you trade against the actual the spike, because what tends to happen time and time again is markets tend to mean revert. So when look at the way this trace is going, so you get the trace is kind of pretty uniform, and then you get this big spike here. And what I would probably like to have done in that case is trade against that spike. So you'd have basically gone short at the top of that spike when the price hit in the extreme, and then you'd have made money on this retracement back to the kind of typical levels. So let's just set an alert up, and I'm also going to set up an auto trade option as well, because I've got the plugin for MT4 running here. So I'm going to first of all set an email. So I've used my email here. It's my personal email, christmascooby@yahoo.co.uk. Just update that, and if I click quick fill, I can set up a date enabled range from basically to just 1 day. So today until tomorrow. I can put notes in for the alert, and if I click auto trade, I can then add an MT4 account in here, and you need to give it the MT4 files folder, because that's where the system is looking for data. So that's where it writes the change data to when an alert is generated from the server. I won't go into the details of how all that works, but anyway, just apply the MT4 files folder in there, and then when you click MT4 settings, you can then design or define how you want the trade to behave. So As I said, I like to use this in a fading environment, i.e. trading against the spike. The only times I would think I would actually set it to follow the spike, i.e. trade in the same direction as the price action, would be where you've got an economics news release, and obviously you can time those trades based upon the hours and minutes here, because they typically, you know exactly when they're going to happen. So you could set the system up to be active during an economic news release and to follow that price action should it change beyond a certain threshold. So let's go for fade. Let's use half a lot. Stop loss, I'm going to keep this nice and tight. 10 pips stop loss, 10 pips take profit. Trailing stop coming in at 5 pips. I'm going to send that, and now once I've done that, and then to choose a threshold level where I want this alert to trigger. So I'm just going to use these quite close in boundaries here, close in areas, and I'm going to send that alert to the server. So it's now created a new alert, and if I now view existing alerts, I can now see that alert's come up. Euro dollar, 1 minute time frame, 200 periods, trigger level is 0.026, start date, stop date, etc, etc, etc. If I then go back and look at those alerts again, I'll see the status has been changed to active, because the server has detected a new alert has been added and is now basically in the queue of alerts being constantly monitored. So I'm going to just carry on creating some more alerts now, and there's a quick way of doing this, just by changing these currency pairs here. So I'm going to do the same thing for sterling US dollar, and I can do it on both sides of the spread if I want. So let's go in here and just pick up percentage change data on both sides of this kind of percentage change trace. Let's do the same thing for US dollar, Swiss franc. Change that to positive. The threshold picking up fade trades on the positive side as well. Let's do the same thing for Aussie dollar, US dollar. I'm just trying to really force a few trades out of this for the time being, just for demo purposes. So we've done that for the Aussie dollar. Kiwi dollar, I'm just going to move that up slightly, and dollar yen, got a little bit of diversion there already, so let's put it a little bit higher. Same on the opposite side, and finally USD CAD, let's come up a tiny bit. So I've created a whole series of alerts for the major Forex pairs, and then when I go back to my existing alerts now, you'll see that they've all been created, and that last USD CAD trade coming in there will go active now. It's just been picked up by the server. So now the system is constantly monitoring all of these pairs for percentage change data which breaches our trigger levels, which you can see here, they've all been set up. So what I'm going to do is now is just pause this video and wait until we've seen some trades being triggered, and then I'll just restart it as soon as I get my first trade being triggered, and I'll talk you through what is going on. I'll also explain how you can make this work in a more efficient way for yourselves if you are using it on a short-term basis. Okay, folks, we've got our first trade. It's a long trade on the Aussie dollar. It's been triggered in MT4. Let's go to the Aussie dollar chart straight away and have a look what's going on here. So you can see here we've got a long trade triggered from this little spike down here. So it's a slightly larger downswing, percentage change data on the 1 minute basis, and we'll just see what happens. You can see the system set take profit and stop loss, which should be 10 pips exactly on both sides. So let's just check that out. Indeed, 10 pips there and 10 pips there. So what often happens is you'll see here the position will go positive fairly quickly when these trades are triggered. Notice if we just zoom in a little bit, notice that over the last few minutes, that black downward leg, and it's on a 1 minute chart, so it's kind of not especially of significance because 1 minute is very noisy, but you can see it's a little bit longer than average, and the system has basically detected that and then opened this trade. So what I would normally do with this is I would literally just kind of use these as scalping based trades. When I've been doing this for testing purposes, when I've been developing this product, I've often thought, blimey, this is actually making money with gay abandon, to be honest. So, I would literally make a few pips here and then just close it manually. I think the real power in the system is on the long time frames when you're looking for far more serious kind of spikes and percentage change data on price, and then you're going to get much more immediate pullback, a bit like a spring being stretched. The longer it goes, the more aggressively it snaps back. So this is kind of what we're doing. It's kind of like reversion trading, really. I mean, we got another trade being triggered here on cable. So it's gone long, cable US dollar. So let's have a quick look at that. GBP USD 1 minute. And again, same thing. Seen this large black candle here, and it's basically detected that and traded off the back of it. This is a difficult time frame to make money on, folks. So I wouldn't necessarily advise this in your trading. It's risky, but I just I'm using these time frames for demonstration purposes, really. So see here, we've got that little trade there on the Aussie dollar US dollar. It's flicking into profit occasionally. I'd be tempted to kind of take that out. Obviously, we've got commission to consider on this particular account, but let's just wait and see what this does. You see there, we've got sterling US dollar bouncing back now after the big spike down. Not a lot of liquidity in the market at the moment. It's coming up to 10 to 5 British summertime, so end of the London session, and things begin to die down a bit. So not a huge amount moving it, but let's just wait a few seconds, see what we can get out of this. There's closed the cable trade there for about what did we go? So we got $3 out of that, $1.50 on commission, and I'm just going to wait and see what happens to this Aussie dollar trade, see whether or not it spikes back again, gives us a few pips. Looking to anything north of $1.50 is good, covers up costs. Again, I'm not suggesting you guys should be quite so as aggressive as I am here. This is really for demo purposes, but I just wanted to use these short time frames just to kind of show you how the system works and how you can actually make a bit of cash. Obviously, if you're looking for much more kind of aggressive spikes in price, you're going to get a much more aggressive kind of reaction to it on the way back. So that spring kind of concept. We'll see what happens here, whether or not we're going to punch back up again in a second. One of the things that, while we're waiting for this to unravel, one of the things that I would suggest strongly is, before you decide on your trading direction, have a look at what price action has been doing. So on a longer time frame. So in this case here, you see we're in an uptrend on an hourly basis. Although it does look like this on the 4 hourly basis, it looks like it's sort of like it's been downtrending for some time. It's in a bit of a sort of congested area here. So I think long was the right call on this, although it's been pushed back quite aggressively from that high there, 0.7834. We'll roll with it for a little while, see what happens. Just let that work itself through. Yeah, it didn't. Our trade based on the M1 time frame here, on this black candle here, didn't really kind of punch back in the way that we're hoping for from a demonstration point of view. Although, never say never. It does look a little bit more upbeat at the moment, but as I say, I wouldn't use these time frames myself for using this system in anger. I'd look for something a bit more aggressive in terms of a big spike on a higher time frame. So, for example, these areas here. So on this hourly chart, you can see here there's just a huge kind of doji candle here, where you've got all this rejection, both from resistance levels and support levels. So actually, while we're waiting to make a little cash out of that, let's just keep an eye on that. Let's have a look at the Aussie dollar US dollar trace on the 4 hour from a percentage change basis, and I think those spikes those spikes that we saw, looking at like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it looks like about 20 periods ago. So what I can do is show price points. So I think that spike appears, let's just change the number of periods on our trace to basically 50 periods. So the spike might have been around here, this fairly aggressive spike. So yeah, we could have made a bit of cash on those. Here we go. So to illustrate my point, we just punch back now. You could either let that run or take profit out of it. I'm going to take it. So happy days. So that is the Market Detective with the MT4 plugin. It's a smart way of getting into the market. Okay, we've got some more coming in here with some aggression. So that I've got a short Aussie dollar US dollar trade based upon this spike up here. See what happens again and again. Same things happen on sterling US dollar. It's faded this spike. So again, you've got to be careful. Bear in mind, this is slightly counter trend on the Aussie dollar, so I'd be looking to get out of this pretty quickly. Let's have a look at sterling US dollar, see what we're doing trend wise. So yeah, I'd be kind of okay really holding on to that short cable trade. Looks pretty downtrending for the last few days, so I'll be okay with that. Aussie dollar, yeah, I mean, as I say, you know, that looks like it's consolidating on the higher time frames. I wouldn't want to be holding on to that Aussie dollar trade, I don't think. So again, I quite like, you know, $7 or $8 profit on sterling US dollar. I'm just going to take it. And let's just watch this Aussie dollar trade. Once I've concluded this, I'm going to basically close down all the rest of the signals on the system and stop. But hopefully you can see this percentage change concept working rather effectively, if I may say so. I haven't done a lot of analysis on the trades that I entered or the alerts that I wanted to trigger. As you saw, I just basically used the price trace and just kind of put those and set my threshold levels on the outliers, on the spikes. I didn't really consider the trend, as you saw. It just happens to have worked out quite well because, as I say, liquidity in the market is getting too thin, so you are getting price mean reverting back to these levels here. So there you go, you see it now, 264. That'll do. Okay, folks. So that's a demonstration. I'm now going to go back into the existing alerts. I'm just going to delete all the active alerts from system. So this finishes off this demo nice and tidily. You can see we've got those triggered levels there. Get rid of those. And we're back to a nice clean position. Hopefully you can get an idea of what's been going on there. So, you know, we made a $66 of profit just from mucking about today, just testing and doing this demo video. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of a feel for how the Market Detective system works. Pricing, not Bitcoin. I will be adding Bitcoin data into it, but you can't trade Bitcoin from MT4 at the moment. So at some point down the track, I may well do a Kraken interface for people who are interested in cryptocurrencies, but for the time being, this is all Forex based essentially, and at the moment we're just covering Forex major pairs, but I'll introduce some miners and some commodities as well, anything which can be really tracked on MetaTrader 4. Yeah, pricing wise, let's just go to the website page for it. I haven't actually put the page up yet. Let's price on a subscription basis, so you can get all the Forex major pairs, so euros, euro dollar, cable, dollar Swiss franc, Aussie dollar US dollar, Kiwi dollar US dollar, dollar yen, and dollar CAD for $14.99 GBP per month. If you want to auto trade, it's £24.99 GBP per month. And I think you guys can see pretty clearly that it pays for itself quite quickly. It's pretty powerful when used in either that very high frequency scalping mode that I was showing you there, or alternatively on a longer time frame to trade against quite big spikes in price. And I haven't actually tried it in an economic news release environment yet, whereby you'd be looking to follow the actual spike. NFP is coming out this Friday. I might have a go with it there. Nice thing about it is you don't have to think about levels. You're just using percentage change data, which is being pulled off the server. There you go. That is the market detective system, which I will now complete this video, stick it on YouTube, and then publish this page on a website, and then start talking about it on my blog and what have you. So thanks for watching.